I want to share something personal with you today. I mean, I'm pretty much sharing myself personally often, but this is important. This is about being in intimate relationship, being in partnership, being in sacred union, and what that often means. And it's a choice that we make on a day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis. And I know my wife won't mind me sharing this, and I actually know that. And she's going through a little bit of a hard time right now. And she's going through some change. And change can be really fucking daunting and scary. And she's processing some stuff, and she's a trooper. She's a warrior. And beyond that, she's being really present to all of that, and she's owning it. And this is actually less about her and more about me. Or more about my role, rather. I said mean like, this is being hyper selfish. No, this is about the role of a partner in relationship that is feeling empowered, and a partner in a relationship that is maybe in certain aspects of their life feeling disempowered. And now this is just one area of her life that she is up leveling, and she knows that, she feels that, and it's also tough. And the part that I want to speak to today is this, is that we were having a deep, intimate conversation this morning, and it was a short conversation, but it was deep. And she was expressing to me her struggle, and that she's also scared to share that struggle with me. And that's what I want to speak to today. And that's the part that really hit me. And it's not because I'm not empathetic or compassionate, or I don't love her and care for her. I do deeply. And there are times where she may bring this issue that she's moving through and, may I say, transmuting from. She sort of can't see it completely just yet because she's in it, right? And we have these seasons in life. They're just seasons. But when we're in it, we think that season is forever, particularly when it's really uncomfortable and painful. And as I looked at her and I gazed at her deeply in her eyes, I said, you can tell me anything, anytime. I'll never hold it against you. But I have in the past. I have done that in the past. I have held her pain against her in my own moments of impatience, and my own moments of struggle, and my own moments of pain and disconnect. And so now that's caused a trepidation for her, a fear of not feeling completely safe to share with me, to share that burden, that load that doesn't need to be only hers. Because I've judged that. I haven't been completely compassionate and empathetic. And I'm not hating myself for that. I'm not being a victim here. I'm being observant. Because is that the man that I want to be? Is that the partner that I want to be? Is that how I want to show up fully in relationship? To have my beloved, a part of her, feel she can't completely open her heart to me. Can't completely open her fears to me. And yes, this is just a season. And is it massively affecting her life? No, because she's so cognizant and aware and willing to do her work. And am I willing to completely support her in non-judgment? And the answer in the past has been no. It hasn't been a complete yes. There's been layers of judgment there. Well, why can't you just get over this? Or why can't you move through that? Or why can't you let that go? And instead of supporting her and just seeing her fully, I've judged that. She's coming to me vulnerably. She's opening her heart to me. And I'm not holding that in a safe way because I have layers of judgment that I'm projecting. She's opening up all of who she is, the sacredness of herself, her greatest fears. And I'm not holding that. I'm not allowing that to be as it is without having to change it. And that's what the masculine often does. It receives information and then wants to do something with it, wants to take action immediately, wants to fix it. And because I can't, quote unquote, fix it because she's not broken and there's nothing to fix, I then get frustrated and project those frustrations onto her. And that limits our intimacy and our connection. And I am responsible for that because of how I'm perceiving the situation. I'm trying to control everything. That's my wounding coming up. We're talking about holding space, not bringing our shit into the dynamic. That's my wounding coming up of needing to fix everything, needing to make sure everything's okay and that I'm responsible for that because that makes me feel needed. That makes me feel like I'm valued. That makes me feel of utility. Yes, that's a masculine wounding, a collective masculine wounding, and it's a very personal one to me because I was told I was never enough. And so I interpret her pain or her fears or whatever it is that she's expressing as it's my fault. I'm responsible for that. That's not the reality, but I'm projecting that unconsciously into the container. And I'm distancing her. All she wants to do is just be loved and be seen for who she is, without judgment, without change, without wanting to make her different, just to hear her. And as men, that can be really difficult to do. But if we don't bring these matters to light, then what happens? We just continue to create more and more separation. And so what does it mean to be a partner that's in a non-judgmental space? That means embracing all of your partner. In order to do that, we must embrace all of ourselves. Because I notice in those times where I am judgmental towards her, I'm compartmentalizing the whole situation. It's because I'm so harsh and judgmental with me. In those moments, my inner speak is so intense and so harsh towards myself that I project it outwards in order to try and release it. It's like a release valve to release some of that pressure because it's so much easier to blame others or look at others than to face our own inner turmoil and our own ego selves. The ego is not bad. I remember Matt Kahn saying once the ego is the soul in its infancy. And we all know how infants and adolescents and children learning their way through the world can be. It can get pretty hectic, confusing. And it gets so much and so overbearing. We're like big kids as adults. It gets so much, emotionally anyway, that we want to vomit it out, spew it out. When she said that to me this morning in that real deep moment of vulnerability that she was sharing, I didn't feel guilt and shame. I felt sadness that I haven't been able to be that person often enough for her to feel fully safe. And that's sacred union. Sacred union is breaking generational trauma, being open to our shadows, owning who we are and seeing the fullness and welcoming the wholeness of that person that's next to you in life with as little judgment to no judgment as possible. You can set healthy boundaries or whatever that means. You can speak your truth, whatever that means for you. But can you embrace the season of life and not go into your own panic? Because I would notice that I'm going into my own panic. Well, what if this? What if she remains in this space forever? What does that mean? Is that the person that I fell in love with? Is that the person that I want to be with? And I start going down this fucking rabbit hole of infinite possibility, but with a skewed perspective on density and negativity and pain and fear and discomfort and not the life that I want to live. And that then just snowballs into so many other thoughts, complex thoughts. Can we just be? All she needs is recognition and acceptance. In most of the time when people are in pain and sharing, all they need, this is what I've found, all they need, and the work that I do with thousands of people as well, not just at an interpersonal level, at an intimate level, but even at an intimate level with the work and the service that I do in the world, all we honestly need is empathetic resonance, loving presence, complete acceptance, radical acceptance of each other, of ourselves, of the other. Not even to say, oh, it's all going to be okay. But and that's what may be needed. To ask, to be curious, to hold space. To hold space means not to bring our shit into that present moment, our own fears. To not make it completely about us. To make it about them and to hold for them. And maybe it's in silence, but so that they can feel that you're not judging them. And you know, in my relationship, I've done that. In all of my relationships, all of my life, I've done that so much. I've judged myself so harshly that I have very naturally, without even knowing it, without being cognizant and aware of it, I have judged others, and that has caused isolation and separation, division, and fear. Fear to be self. And then when a person hides from me or doesn't give me the fullness of themselves, I blame them. But really, what's my role? And my role hasn't been full acceptance. So if you are in intimate relationship, and you are, because you have yourself, at the least, you have people in your life, but at the least you have you. How can you see yourself from a place of greater acceptance and loving kindness? Because as I've been that person, I've pushed my partner away in different ways. I've caused her to move with trepidation and fear. I can't, quote unquote, blame anyone but myself. She has her roles, she has her parts, that's her parts, not mine. Where can I be responsible? That's part of being in sacred union, being in a conscious, healthy relationship, wanting to be in a relationship that grows and expands, is asking, what role am I playing? What part am I playing? How can I do and be different? And what would that look like? What level of freedom and expansion would that give me possibility? Maybe it would come with some pain and fear. And maybe I'm willing to explore that. And accept that just as I accept the joy and the happiness and the ease and the grace. It doesn't mean to be a champion for that, for the uncomfortable, but to embrace it because it has equal teachings. Let your beloved know that you love them. Let them know that you care for them. And let them know that you are there for them as best as you can be in an unconditional way, which is a practice. It's not an end state necessarily. Pound blessings to you. I'll see you soon.